Tension is once again simmering at Ibrox, and we're barely a few weeks into the new season. What was meant to be a fresh chapter for Rangers under Russell Martin has quickly spiraled into something far more chaotic. The optimism that followed his appointment has evaporated, replaced by frustration, anger, and a growing chorus of doubt from the stands. Supporters were promised evolution. What they're witnessing, instead, feels like regression. And now, the pressure is on, not just from the fans, but from the weight of expectation that comes with managing a club like Rangers. This weekend feels huge already, and that says everything about the mood at the club. Rangers will welcome Hearts to Ibrox in desperate need of not just a win, but a performance. The kind of performance that settles nerves, builds belief, and puts the noise to rest, at least for a while. Russell Martin may still have the backing of the board, but inside Ibrox, it's the supporters who set the tone, and right now, their patience is hanging by a thread. It's not just the results, though those speak volumes. For league matches, no wins, and a brutal exit from the Champions League qualifiers have set the tone for a campaign that's felt off-kilter from the start. Martin walked through the door preaching identity, style, and attacking football, but so far, the reality on the pitch has looked anything but. The draw in the Old Firm clash before the international break might have offered a glimmer of progress, but a goalless draw at home, even in a derby, is hardly the stuff of revolution. For many, it was more of the same. Cautious, disjointed, and missing the cutting edge that defines great Rangers sides. And that's exactly why the pressure is growing. The fan base doesn't just want results. They want to feel proud of the team again. They want to believe in the direction. And while some are willing to give Martin time, others are already asking whether he's the right man to take the club forward. Those doubts aren't helped by performances that lack fluency or fight. The Ibrox faithful can forgive a lot, but not a lack of identity. That's where the criticism has really taken hold. It's not just the defeats, it's the sense of drift. Off the pitch, the board continues to present a calm front. Sources close to the club suggest there's still faith in Russell Martin's long-term vision, that the early setbacks are being treated as part of the process. But in Glasgow, time is a luxury rarely afforded. This is not a mid-table club looking to develop slowly. This is Rangers. The demand is constant. The spotlight never dims. And if the results continue to fall short, even the most patient boardroom won't be able to hold back the storm forever. And yet, not all is bleak. In fact, some sparks of hope have emerged. One of them comes in the form of Theo Isgaard, whose international break was nothing short of sensational. 4 goals in Norway's 11-1 demolition of Moldova, a performance full of confidence, power, and class. It wasn't just the goals that made headlines, but the gesture from Erling Haaland that accompanied them. With a hat-trick on the line and Norway awarded a penalty, Haaland, already on 4 goals himself, handed the ball to Isgaard. A simple gesture, but one that spoke volumes. For Isgaard, it was a moment to remember. Scoring from the spot to complete a remarkable personal performance, and doing so with his family watching in the stands. But beyond the emotion, the bigger question now is whether that international form can translate back to club level. Rangers need goals. They need spark. And they need players who believe in themselves. Isgaard's confidence is sky-high right now, and if Martin is looking for a turning point, he could do worse than building his attack around a young man who just scored for his country. The timing couldn't be better either. With Hearts coming to town, Rangers have an opportunity to reset. 3 points are non-negotiable. But more than that, the team needs to make a statement. To the fans, to the media, and perhaps most importantly, to themselves. Because as it stands, belief is fragile. And one more poor result could see the entire atmosphere at Ibrox tip into full-blown crisis. But while Isgaard is flying, others are still struggling to get off the ground. Oliver Antman, for example, arrived with huge expectations. A Finnish international, creative, quick, technically gifted, the kind of player supporters were desperate to see lighting up the wings. His debut was electric. 2 assists, flashes of flair, and immediate excitement. But that energy has faded quickly. 6 appearances later, and he's yet to score. No more assists. No end product. Just another attacker caught in the same rut that's gripping the rest of the forward line. His form with Finland hasn't helped. Starting on the left, not his natural position, Antman was quiet in a disappointing loss to Poland. No shots, no chances created, Not even a single completed dribble before being subbed off after just over an hour. It's not just a dip, it's a disappearance. And that poses real problems for Rangers. Because Antman's story isn't unique. Across the front line, nobody's delivering. And while fingers are being pointed at the players, the system, and by extension, the manager, is under the microscope. Martin has insisted that time is needed, that new signings need to bed in, that chemistry can't be rushed. But fans have seen this film before. They've heard the promises, watched the same slow build-up play, and been left asking the same questions. Where's the urgency? Where's the bravery? Where's the vision? The problem for Antman, and for Martin, is that Ibrox isn't a place that forgives extended slumps. The winger clearly has talent, and his versatility should make him an asset. But without confidence, it's all just potential. And potential alone won't save a season. The longer he goes without that first goal, the more the weight on his shoulders will grow. And in an environment like Rangers, that weight can crush even the most promising of players. What's clear now is that Rangers don't just need one or two players to step up. They need a collective reset. The midfield has to start dominating games. The defense, while improved, must stay sharp. But above all, the attack has to find teeth. Whether it's Asgard continuing his hot streak, Antman finally delivering on his promise, or someone else entirely rising to the occasion, the season depends on it. Russell Martin still has time, but it's running out fast. The silence from the board may sound like support, but everyone inside Ibrox knows how quickly that can change. The next few matches could define his tenure. Results will either give him the breathing space to build something real, or bring his short time in Glasgow to a crashing halt. Rangers' story this season isn't just about one manager or a few underperforming players. It's becoming a wider reflection of a club still searching for clarity in its rebuild. After the turbulence of recent years, there was a real desire for stability, for a new identity to take root under Russell Martin's leadership. But the early signs suggest the squad is caught between ideas, trying to implement a more expansive, possession-based approach while still being haunted by the demand for results, for grit, for the traditional Ibrox standards of intensity and fight. That internal conflict is showing on the pitch. Players look uncertain. Movements feel rehearsed, but not instinctive. There's hesitation in the final third, a lack of chemistry in transitions, and, crucially, no one taking games by the scruff of the neck. Russell Martin spoke of building a team with personality, one that dominates matches and plays with purpose. But personality doesn't appear overnight, and right now, Rangers look like a side struggling with their own identity. You look across the attacking options, and there's quality there on paper. Names like Danilo, Sima, Dessers, and of course, Asgard and Antman. But paper means nothing if there's no cohesion, no rhythm. At the moment, the final ball is lacking, the link-up play feels forced, and the threat just isn't there. Too often, Rangers are dominating possession but doing little with it, passing sideways, lacking tempo, and running out of ideas around the box. That's not what fans were promised, and it's certainly not what they're prepared to accept. One of the biggest frustrations in the stands is seeing new signings come in with promise and then fade into the same pattern. Oliver Antman is just the latest in a growing line of players who start brightly, only to lose confidence and momentum. His situation is becoming symbolic of the wider problem. You can see he wants to make things happen, but the structure around him isn't helping. He's being shifted between flanks, often isolated in wide areas, and without consistent service or movement off the ball, he's left chasing shadows. The numbers don't lie: no goals, no assists since the opening match, and a string of performances that have drifted into anonymity. The fans have seen this before. A player arrives with excitement, only to be swallowed by the system and the pressure. And once that spiral starts, it's hard to reverse. That's where Russell Martin needs to show something different. It's not enough to say players need time. He has to find ways to protect their confidence, to simplify their roles, and to give them the conditions to thrive. Because if Antman's form doesn't pick up soon, he won't just be a bench option. He'll be a symbol of what's not working under this regime. Contrast that with Theo Asgard, who's riding a wave of confidence after his exploits with Norway. 4 goals in one match, combining with one of the world's best in Erling Haaland, and showing the kind of instinctive finishing that Rangers have been crying out for. What makes Asgard's performance stand out isn't just the goals, it's the conviction with which he played. He looked free, aggressive, determined, everything you want from a young forward. The big test now is whether that form can survive the shift back to domestic football and the weight of expectation at Ibrox. Saturday's match against Hearts will be massive for Iscard. The fans are desperate for someone to lift the mood, and right now, he's the player they're looking to. If he can carry even half of that international confidence into the match, he could be the difference. But it's also a lot to place on young shoulders. That's why Martin needs to build a structure that supports him, that gives him chances early, and that doesn't leave him isolated up top chasing lost causes. What Rangers need is a spark, something to lift the fog and give the team momentum. Football is built on moments. A single performance can change the energy inside a stadium. A first goal for Antman. A thunderous winner from Iscard. A dominant display in midfield that reasserts control. Right now, the squad feels one big result away from believing again. But without that moment, the doubt will only grow stronger. And that's where the scrutiny on Russell Martin intensifies. He was brought in to modernize the team, to bring fresh ideas and a more dynamic brand of football. But supporters are yet to see that vision take shape. Too often, the team looks caught between two styles, trying to pass their way through teams, but without the tempo or movement to make it effective. It's sterile possession, and it's not what wins titles in Scotland. Not without real punch in the final third. There's also the question of leadership. On the pitch, who's stepping up when the game gets tight? Who's demanding the ball, setting the tempo, shouting instructions, lifting heads when things go flat? Right now, there's a noticeable vacuum. And while Martin has tried to bring in voices and characters over the summer, it's clear that the team still lacks natural leaders. That absence becomes obvious in matches that drift, where Rangers dominate the ball but do little with it, and no one seems able to flip the switch. The Old Firm draw was a clear example. Yes, it was a clean sheet. Yes, it avoided a damaging defeat. But it also highlighted just how far behind Celtic Rangers still look in terms of fluency and identity. It was a cautious performance, focused on control rather than risk. And while it offered a platform to build from, it didn't win many hearts back. In fact, for some fans, it only reinforced their fears that this version of Rangers isn't bold enough to reclaim the top spot. And so we return to the key point: time. Russell Martin has some, but not much. The board have made it clear they want to back him, but they're not blind to the mood inside Ibrox. They hear the boos, see the empty seats when the whistle blows, and they know that public patience is thinning by the week. What Martin does in the next handful of matches could define not only his future, but the tone of the entire season. For players like Antman, it's a chance to turn things around, to show that the talent which earned him the move wasn't a false promise. For Iscard, it's a moment to establish himself as a main man in this squad. And for Martin, it's time to stop talking about vision and start delivering results. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The streets of Glasgow are buzzing with a rumor that feels too outrageous to ignore. Word drifting from the Ibrox corridors suggests Rangers have pulled off a move that would shake Scottish football to its core: the signing of Jamie Vardy, the iconic Leicester City striker whose relentless energy and sharp eye for goal defined the Premier League for nearly a decade. While there's been no official confirmation, whispers among supporters and insiders alike hint that the veteran forward is set to swap the king power for Ibrox in what is being described as a bombshell contract. Vardy, at 38, has long been admired north of the border, his story from non-league obscurity to Premier League champion echoing the kind of grit and fight cherished by the Ibrox faithful. If this deal is indeed real, it would not only hand Rangers one of the most recognizable English forwards of the modern era, but also deliver a statement of intent in their battle with Celtic. Fans outside pubs in Govan have already begun dreaming of Vardy in royal blue, chasing down defenders with that trademark snarl. His pace perhaps diminished, but his instinct for goals never in doubt. Critics will question whether this is more spectacle than strategy. Can a player of his age, despite his remarkable fitness, adapt to the physical demands of Scottish football? Or is this less about longevity and more about impact, a short-term jolt of star power to lift Rangers in Europe and reignite their domestic dominance? Those close to the club hint at a deal structured with both on-pitch contribution and commercial sparkle in mind, with shirts already imagined flying off the shelves. For now, it remains in the realm of speculation, a whisper rolling like smoke through the city. Yet the very thought of Jamie Vardy in Glasgow has already electrified a fan base desperate for another hero. If this rumor proves true, Scottish football could be on the brink of one of its most sensational transfers in recent memory, the day Rangers exploded the market and brought Jamie Vardy to Ibrox. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.